It was freezing, it was raining, it was pretty miserable, but we dug in and we fought and we fought and we fought. But sadly, it wasn't to be. So I'm just going to say a bit about the national picture, and I'll hopefully offer a few hints about how Alice and her team might want to take things forward, because I think it's really important that we understand how bad this is. Worst results since the 1930s. If we think about the 1983 election, we didn't get in for 14 years. And you look around social media and people will say it's the MSM or it's Brexit. MSM is the mainstream media for those that aren't into the social media acronyms. But the reality is, a politician blaming the media is like a sailor blaming the weather. You've got to deal with it, you've got to manage it. And the reality is, we're in a bad place as a party. We really are. Really bad place as a party. Look at the numbers. Michael Foot won more in 83 than we have seats now. So we have to look at the reality of the situation that we face. And I just want to say a bit about that. We set up the Equality and Human Rights Commission. That was one of Labour's achievements under that 97 to 2010 government. Right now, they're doing an investigation into us as a party for anti-Semitism. They've only done one before into another party, that was the BNP. Now people can say what they like about it being Blairite conspiracists or some other kind of conspiracy, but that is a big low point for our party, the party of the Race Relations Act, the party of the Equality Act, the party that's fought for minority rights throughout its history, is being investigated by the Equality and Human Rights Commission. We have on our NEC somebody who said that those allegations of anti-Semitism were the result of Jewish Trump obsessives. On our NEC. We have someone who is putting themselves forward, potentially, to be our deputy leader, who said that Zionists are the enemy of Palestine, and who denied ever saying that in many interviews before he was presented with the evidence. He's still on our front bench. The reality is, that's not okay. Neither of those things are okay. It's a stain on our party. And that is not the only reason we're here, and I'll talk about some of the other reasons in a moment. But until we fight back against that completely unacceptable position, we're going nowhere. We are morally spent, and if the Labour Party does not have morality, it has nothing. I'm sorry if I'm raising my voice, but it's because I give a shit. The 2017 Manifesto, we have a lot to be thankful to Corbyn and McDonnell for. They took us from a position where basically we said nothing that was discernibly different to the Tories to a position where we were saying quite ambitious things about how we needed to reform our economy because neoliberalism had gone way too far. We all knew that. We needed to roll that back. We needed to get it back under control. We needed to stop money seeping out of our public assets into private pockets. So McDonnell and Corbyn, it took us a long way. In that 2017 manifesto, it was careful. It was proportionate. It was deliberately put together. So when I was at conference last year, and we were talking about rebuilding Britain, we were talking about that manifesto, the party was completely united on that policy platform. I felt really positive about it. There was a really positive message around that conference, even though the media tried to make it about Brexit. But for whatever reason, things have just drifted over the last year. And when I was sat at a conference this year, as your delegate, you kindly sent me there were many speeches and there was a complete lack of grip on where we were as a party. Ideas that were just kind of, with an election evidently round the corner, there were ideas that were just chucked out like confetti. 4-day week. The abolishing of private schools. Both things that I would absolutely love, but the public, there was no groundwork, there was no foundation laid for that. They were just chucked out as ideas. Then we lost control of conference from the floor. motions about free movement, motions about Kashmir. Again, completely laudable aims in themselves, but politically alienating entire communities, alienating people who we need to win over. And the truth is, in politics, you can't take the electorate for granted unless you want to become some minority think tank party like the Liberal Democrats. But we're not. We should be a party of government. Completely lost grip. Then our manifesto was massive this time round. Ideas like free broadband. I loved the idea of free broadband. I thought that is exactly what we need in order to take our economy into the 21st century, put it at the forefront, support all of the industries that we need in order to lead the global economy. But no groundwork, no justification, no rationale. Policies presented as if they were self-evidently good because of the belief in their inherent quality. Well, the reality is, the public, the truth is, if they're going to change, we need to convince them of our credibility, of the deliverability. And we never thought about that. It was just policy after policy after policy after policy after policy. And we did have a costed manifesto in our grade book, and then came along the waspy women commitment, out of borrowing, breaking our own golden rule that you only borrow to invest. I don't know what was going on, is the reality. I don't know what was going on. What happened between 2017, a solid, thought-through manifesto, and 2019, when it became a wish list. And between that time, many people took to platforms, and one word they were very keen to use was, I am a socialist. I am a socialist. But our policy platform was social democratic. We were talking about social democracy. We're trying to turn the UK into a Sweden, into a Norway, into a Finland. And guess what the name of the party was there who created all this stuff? It wasn't the Socialist Party, they were the social democratic parties. So we had social democratic policies being sold as socialism. Now, every time a politician gets on a stage and says, I am a socialist, who's benefiting? Who's benefiting? Is it the Labour Party who's convincing swing voters, or is it that politician who's advancing their position within the party? I say it's firmly the latter. It's been self-indulgence upon self-indulgence upon self-indulgence. And, I don't mind if people want to describe themselves as socialists behind closed doors, but we can't take the electorate for granted. Every time someone says, I'm a socialist, knocks about 10,000 votes off for us. I don't know, there's probably people in the room who probably think I'm some kind of Blairite scum for saying this. I'm not. I believe in these policies, but I believe we want to win.
Absolutely right.
So where do we go from here? The reality is, the Equality and Human Rights Commission are going to report. I don't know when that is, but it's not going to paint us in a good light. The reality is that we all know there is a handful of individuals, as there often have been in many regimes, but there are a handful of individuals who are driving matters. Unless there be splits between them, and I won't go into the minutiae of that, read the Sunday Times from late September. But one of those individuals is the GenSec of a trade union. And that trade union, according to polls, only a third of the members voted Labour. Only a third of their members voted Labour in the Labour Party that's supposed to represent trade unions. I believe strongly in the link with trade unions. I believe strongly that we should represent the working class. Class has featured more in this election campaign, more in this conference, than ever in my living memory. The party of the working class. We are in a class war. People before privilege. That was the conference slogan, right? But what did the working class say to us? What did they say to us? They said, do one. They were not interested because we did not speak for them, because we weren't listening to them. So, I know that's more punchy than you anticipated. You thought we were coming here for a nice fuddle and a jolly. But the reality is I'm a nobody now. I was a somebody on Thursday. I have no formal role in this party now. So I wanted to take this opportunity to tell some home truths. Because unless we do, unless those home truths are followed, we are going nowhere. It's 14 years more in the wilderness, like after 1983. So we need to get real, people. We really do. So, what does that mean locally for us here? It's obvious. We know the places around here which are more amenable to our current message than others. Shelthorpe, Shepshire, Sarby, Barrow. So what I think we should do here is go into those communities. I want a party in each of those communities. I want us to be strong in each of those communities. I want us to be putting out paid for social media in those communities on a regular basis, saying what we're doing, why Labour gives a shit about people, what we're doing to improve the communities. Because that's what it's about now. It's about listening. It's about being able to go into a boozer and talk about Labour politics with a straight face. Because tell you, I've tried to do that over the course of this campaign. It's been bloody difficult. So we're in a hole. We are in a hole. I think we can't have the status quo ante dressed up as something else. So it's a bit Boris Johnson with the Latin. But we just can't do it. We can't be there. Because we can't go back to Tory light. We can't go back to the neoliberal policies that have failed. What we need is to rally round the best of our social democratic policies, call them social democratic, sell them as social democratic, and sell them as the way that we're going to make people's lives better. Because people's lives aren't great at the moment. That's the reality of the matter. Housing's a disaster, NHS a disaster. Schools face massive cuts and pressures. But as Nye Bevan said, priorities is the language of socialism. We must prioritise, we must articulate how we're going to do things, we must justify our positions, we can't take them as self-evidently good. We have to give the rationale, we have to tell people the need for the policy, how we're going to deliver the policy, how it's affordable. So that's where we are. So as we go into this leadership election that's going to happen, I want you to think about that. Please think about that. Because this isn't me on a soapbox having read Twitter. This is me having spoken to thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people in our area. It's me having thought about these things a lot for many years. Someone who I hope has built up some credibility in our area. So please, let's think about that collectively. I want us to win the next election. If we do the right things, I think we can. But it's not good. Let's not pretend it's good. Let's not pretend we won the argument, because we did not win the argument. We've got to regroup. We've got to rethink. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. Thanks very much.